Welcome back to Data Center News Asia. We are back in Singapore. James, you look a little dusty. Did you get back in quite late last night or early this morning from Japan?
Neither got in about 5 o'clock, so thank you for pointing out that I'm not looking my best. Thought I was looking okay today.
Well, I mean, slightly better than some of those photos that got posted up in Tokyo. But it was a very busy week. Digital Garden. We got some great interviews, so do stay tuned for those. Todd from Cushman, Morgan from PGIM, and of course the ladies from Women in Data Center, which was also a great party.
Yes, yeah, no, great week, very
All right.
successful. Yeah, let's get cracking because we've got
Yep.
over 15
Lots of
stories,
news.
so less than a minute per
None
story.
of it from Japan. Let's go digital
story from
realty
Japan.
first. I think this has been something everyone's known about in the background for a long time. Digital realty targeting new Southeast Asian markets. Indonesia has been announced. This is a joint venture with Bersama Digital Infrastructure Asia, who we've reported a couple of times actually the development of their fund and their potential assets in the region. And this will extend the platform digital connectivity play that digital really has into Indonesia.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a site I'm very familiar with. Anyone who knows my background will know why, or certainly one of the sites. Yeah, so they've got basically two assets, this company, which they're partnering with. One downtown location, which is CGK 11, and then CGK 10 is the one in West Jakarta. I think CGK 11 is probably the more excited one. So that's a facility in quite central Jakarta, which is scalable up to 32 megawatts. And then they have another one in West, which is also scalable. So it's going to be a 50-50 JV, and it will be called Bersama Digital Data Centers. Oh, no, sorry, that's what's already called. It'll be called Digital Realty Bersama.
Bersama.
Yeah.
This follows on from Digital Realty's joint venture with Mitsubishi in Japan, and of course Digital Connection with Reliance and Brookfield in India. So following that trend of Digital Realty plugging into both private sources of capital as well as, local expertise and partners to get these deals off the ground and leveraging Digital Realty's global customer expertise. So exciting one to watch. There was a big funding story this week as well. Bridge Data Centers, the Bain Capital-backed platform, have bagged $2.8 billion in funding. Interesting that the only countries mentioned in the press releases were the ones that are known already: Malaysia, Thailand, India. So I guess we're not meant to comment on the other targets for expansion.
Well, I don't think it actually mentioned India in the press release, but it did certainly mention Malaysia, Thailand. They've obviously got campus-style developments going on in both these markets. Just with the plans in those two countries, that this 2.8 billion could probably be responsible for just those two countries. Such are their plans in those markets. A couple of the highlights: I think 11 banks from across the region were the ones providing capital, which is the most certainly I've ever heard of for a deal or a fundraise of this size in APAC. And yeah, it's kind of a vote of confidence in what the Bridge team are doing, and yeah, pretty exciting news for them.
Yeah, I think it's a balancing act with that kind of consortium size between de-risking and meeting everyone's various different criteria and obligations for a loan, particularly with something like a green loan. Now becomes more and more complicated. This I suppose as the industry becomes more and more of a path well trodden, and these loans become more familiar in structuring to the banks, we'll see more of these consortiums as people look to spread their risk profile across the region and across different operators. So yeah, exciting news. Congratulations to Bain and the Bridge team on that one. A couple of stories from erstwhile rivals GDS and their international branch DayOne here. So should we start with the DayOne story in Thailand?
In Thailand, yeah, sure. Essentially this is just news of a groundbreaking. So they have broke ground now on their Chonburi Tech Park, and I think they've said $1 billion, if I'm not mistaken, is what they'll be spending on this facility. This is a facility which is scalable to 120-ish megawatts, I believe it is. Yeah, it says 180 megawatts of grid capacity, so maybe even slightly higher IT load on that. There's some well-publicized, or not publicized, but well-known tenders in the market with some existing DayOne clients seeking capacity. So I think it's safe to say that they've got a client in mind for this. So yeah, congratulations. Always good to get shovels in the ground. I think we should be able to get a nice photo of the DayOne team here. Yeah, I've got a couple of the
I do have a
key
groundbreaking
team members
photo
there.
for the viewers. They'll love that. Yeah, I was kind of trying to do a bit of the mental math there. So if it's a 1.3 PUE or something similar, we're looking at like 140 megawatts of IT load, which would make the build cost in Thailand, according to their investment there, even lower than was on the Cushman report. There's something like $7 million a megawatt.
Yeah, well, there's nothing really to reference in Thailand of that sort of scale, but I'd imagine they'd be using the kind of the numbers that you would associate with Johor. Could potentially be a modular design. So yeah, probably 7-8 million a megawatt is probably, I would say, the base case. Maybe even slightly lower, but it's what I would assume that they're modeling to.
Stark contrast with the conversations we were having in Japan this week. GDS also, so this is GDS, the GDS Holdings, the parent company or one of the parent investors of DayOne, has announced that they are seeking $3.4 billion in financing for their Johor data center. So this is record-breaking to the size of loans for Johor, but they're all kind of up in that sort of scale. This is, I guess, to finance the next stage in development after the current construction project is finished.
Yes, it seems to be the case. It was one of these stories citing sources familiar with the matter, so I think we need to just be slightly careful.
Sprinkle a little salt on that one.
Yeah, kind of similar to the previous story we mentioned. Like, they've got a number of developments under construction, under development, land purchasing all the time, etc. So yeah, it says it's all for Johor, which, just given the size of their operations up there, wouldn't be surprising. It seems on the slightly high side, but again, like, they are doing a lot of things up there. So I think, yeah, there's no smoke without fire.
There was also a story out from China this week, which I'm going to gloss over, but if there's any bankers in the comments who want to break some more news on this. So they have monetized. This is the first time the GDS has done this, where they have. This is something that we see commonly through Digital Realty, Apple, and other companies that manage different private REITs or public REITs. They've monetized their equity interest in one of the data centers in China, moving into a REIT that can later be transferred into a public REIT. I'm going to kind of stop there because everything else in the press release was a combination of renminbi and different asset-backed security structures, which I'm not the best person to comment on.
Yeah, well, have a few drinks and then talk to an expert on it. Is usually your style, but let's gloss over that. We have mentioned it. We talk about Thailand now?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is basically the Thailand Investment Board. So they release quite public documents where they basically approve investment going into the country. So they've approved $2.7 billion. A couple of interesting companies here, including some of, well, certainly never heard of in the context of Thailand. So Beijing Huiyang Cloud and Data Technology, Empyrean, of course, who we know, as we've mentioned a few times on this, GSA Data Center. Yeah, so I think probably the more surprising ones here are the Chinese firms just mentioned, who may not be household names to everyone, but I think it is. I think people do know that a lot of these firms are trying to expand in Southeast Asia. So watch this space, I would say.
Yeah, those who remember from last year, this was how we accidentally did our first bit of. Normally we stick to the press releases to avoid conflicting with non-disclosure agreements, but we accidentally broke the NextDC news by reading this last year because they hadn't announced it and the Thai board had announced that NextDC was coming to Thailand. So maybe we'll do the same again here. But yeah, there's a few on here, quite a large amount of capacity. No surprises with all the announcements that we've had from TikTok, AWS, and Ali Cloud and Google are talking about huge commitments to Thailand. So no big shock there on the quantity. Equinix raising $500 million in green funds. This is to help fund efficiency improvements and data centers in Singapore.
Yeah, so that's yeah, not a huge amount more. 500 Singapore dollars. So just in case anyone is getting confused, so 375 US. Due in 2030, including building and renewable innovations, energy efficiency, resource conservation, cutting edge decarbonization solutions. I'm sure some of these get implemented. We'll hear more about them, but they obviously have got a mixed portfolio in terms of age, Equinix, with some relatively old facilities as well as some, like they've got some of the newest ones coming online as per the CFA application a couple of years ago now. So interesting to see what happens here. Okay, Rhys, we're under time pressure. Let's get cracking through these.
A company I hadn't heard of called CURRENC Group, who are probably better known as the Seamless Group, which is like a bunch of AI and tools that were taken public in a SPAC merger last year. They are pivoting into building a data center, which which is not in their usual portfolio, but this is going to be in Johor.
Yeah, interesting. So plans 500 megawatt campus in Johor while simultaneously launching $100 million AI infrastructure fund. This is one I don't know a huge about, to be honest, and so I'm not going to comment because it seems to be quite a few different moving parts and a few different players. That has been announced. Let's see what happens because, yeah, quite a few different bits and pieces to digest from this press release or this news article. So let's mention that and move on. NTT India?
Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. They've announced a 500 megawatt NAV2 data center. So this will be presumably following on from from NAV1, which is a little bit smaller. That's 30 megawatts live, and there's another 70 coming on. So I would say smaller in Navi Mumbai context. Smaller. I mean, this is still 130 megawatts of capacity on a campus. But yeah, NAV2 looks to be a potential monster.
Yeah, another, I think, just basically a campus style development, similar nature. That 500 megawatts is power, not IT. So the IT number given is 336 megawatts. But yeah, I'd imagine they'll be building this out over a number of years, kind of in line with NAV1, except obviously larger. NTT, huge player in India, so congratulations on that. This is another one just while we're on India. L&T to invest 3,600 crore to build 3 new DCs in India. So L&T, big construction firm or conglomerate, I would say, in India. So they're going to build 3 new data centers. They've given that 3,600 crore, according to this news article, is 415 US. And then there was some other stories about how they're planning on increasing their capacity from 32 megawatts to 150, which doesn't quite seem to add up even with cheaper construction costs in India. But again, that's one for us to clarify, follow up on. But yeah, anyway, significant investment from those guys.
Yeah, via Infotech in the Philippines. They have
via Infotech, yeah.
They've
opened
gone
their new
live
facility
on
in Manila.
Hive hybrid data center, and you said this one's already on DC Byte. So what are we looking at for the capacity here?
Yeah, it's a site. It's been on DC Byte for a while. I've seen it. Like I probably first saw this site 2.5 years ago. It is a retrofit, but this is scalable. I think up to around 20ish megawatts once fully built out. Yeah, it's an interesting location in Manila, quite central. It's gone through a few iterations. Its facility or a few different kind of firms' ownerships, but fundamentally a decent site. So let's see what happens.
Just got time to. Oh, sorry, Microsoft. Yeah, do that one very quickly.
Microsoft Malaysia West Cloud region to go live next quarter, as they've obviously been developing self-built site there and a colo capacity, least significant amount of colo capacity actually. So that will finally go live. And then Rhys, do you want to finish off the?
Yeah, we just got time to wish a happy birthday to AirTrunk, who turned 10 this year. So just a reminder to everyone who is stressed about the industry and how difficult it can be sometimes. Rome wasn't built in a day. And also congratulations to David Cooper, who has been announced this week as the new CEO of AGP Data Centers, coming in from Microsoft in Sydney. And I think that's us on the news for the week.
That's it. Thanks everyone for watching.
Cheers.
Bye.